was born in Haleyville, Alabama, Winston County. It's in northeast Alabama, actually. It's about 90 miles from Birmingham. We had a farm there, my dad did, 120 acres, and he farmed it. And of course, you know, that was just barely reeking out a living. And met a man by the name of Boyce Johnston. Well, Boyce Johnston was among the first who came to Ackworth from Alabama, and he got in contact with my dad and said, Lockheed, Georgia is opening and they are hiring. If you are interested, come over and I'll arrange for you to get an interview. So he did, and of course he did get the job. I just remember looking around and thinking, oh my goodness, the school is right there, you know, and I could see 2 churches, roads were paved. I mean, it was like I had really, really gone big time. And that summer, I was enrolled in Miss Hester's 5th grade class, and it was in the old building. In fact, I remember so well when we would be going to lunch or leaving the room or entering the room, we could not all enter or leave at the same time. We would leave by maybe 2 rows at a time because the floors were so weak. And I have to tell you that teachers lived all around us. Mr. Golightly, who was the math algebra teacher at Ackworth, rented a room for Miss Humphreys, who was next door. Then we had the preacher next door, and then on down the street was Mr. T.C. Cantrell. And we always laughed and said, we can't do anything wrong because everybody will know this, you know. And I tell you, going back, I joined the band as a 7th grader. Ken Stanton was the band director.
Is that right?
And he, of course, ran it just like he did military. Very, very strict. I played a baritone until my junior year, and then I began playing French horn. And Mr. Baxter became the band director at North Cobb and for a few years at Ackworth. And music was my thing. I just really enjoyed it. I guess from day one I wanted to be a majorette, and just so happened, as an 8th grader, all the majorettes were graduating. So we get this group together and say, okay, let's try out and see if we can become majorettes. And we did. Mr. Baxter did a lot of fun things, though, like I remember one song, Bird Dog. That was a popular song, and he tried to include those as part of the football halftime shows. And that particular one, we had car coats and BB guns and did a routine with a gun instead of with baton, yeah. And we did Twirl with Fire one time, which was quite interesting. But yes, I enjoyed. Those were times I really enjoyed. For years and years, this area was known for academics. And a lot of the educators moved to this area to be sure that they attended Autry and North Cobb. Mr. Joe Hayes was the principal. I came home for Christmas holidays, and one of the teachers, 3rd grade teachers, had health problems. But anyway, he called me at home and he said, when are you graduating? And I said, I will graduate in March, because I had gone the summer before. March the 10th was my last day of college. I came home, and my first day to report to Ackworth was March the 11th. And I taught 3rd grade. I stayed there that 1/3 of the year, and then 2 more years. And Miss Stegall, who was my 7th grade Georgia history teacher, were going to Floyd, and they needed a teacher there in the 7th grade. So Mr. Hayes just picked up the phone, called Mr. Hatcher, and said, I have a teacher for you. So we opened Floyd, except, again, we were having to go double session, with Osborne Jr. because the building itself was not finished. And during that time, a student set Osborne on fire. And I lost all of my Georgia history materials I had collected. And then we had to go half day with South Cobb High School. So really we didn't get into Floyd until almost springtime. And it was a brand new school. And I taught there 2 years. And then found out that there was going to be an opening at Autry. So I told Mr. Hatcher that I really would like to get back home. At that time, in the 70s, it was not a beautiful sight. The pink buildings were still there, and the merchants were struggling. We had a group of women, Ackworth Junior Women's Club, and our projects basically involved community work. We worked very hard with beautification projects, helping the city in different areas, and we actually held the first arts festival, and that began what we now call, or did call, Pioneer Days. So we went to state and competed. We had to write up everything we did, and we won quite a few state awards every year with the service to the community. And you know, it was just, you just grew up here loving it. And I still love it, and I think it's beautiful. The city has worked very hard to make it almost like a tourist attraction. And I think it's so quaint looking still with the facades and all the street work that's been done. Love to see it at Christmas. I just think it's a beautiful place.